Well, hello everyone. This is Christian Arce. This is another episode of Real Estate Talk. Uh, and today we're going to have a really good friend that I know for some time. So, so we're going to get started in a minute. Like I said, this is another episode of Real Estate Talk where I talk to fellow Facebook friends, real estate in the real estate industry, and the real estate industry, lending industry, just to give you a different perspective. Let me see. I think I have having some audio issues. Let me. There we go. Everybody listening fine now? Can you listen good? I think so. Well, we'll continue now. So we're gonna get started, and then we'll see if hopefully everything is coming out correctly. Like I said, the idea today is just to give you a different perspective on what's going on out there. On the trenches. Like I said, sharing some tips, ideas, opinions from real people, investors, realtors, brokers, lenders. And consultants out there that are doing it every day. They're grinding and pushing through the COVID-19 crisis. So everybody is being affected by this. And obviously, I just wanted to kind of share with everyone what's going on with some of our friends in the industry and kind of give you a different perspective from their view. Right. So please like and share if you will. I really appreciate that. It will Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, anywhere where you can. We really appreciate that. And without further ado, I'm super excited today to talk to my new guest today. He's, like I said, a good friend that I know for a few years now. And I think that you're really going to like him. He's a real estate investor, a developer, a real estate broker, a mentor, and also a host of the Profits Over Wages podcast that we're going to give you the information a little later today so you can see how you can find them. So without further ado, here's Matt Mesick. Give me 1 second, Matt. There you go. Now you're on. What's up, man? How are you?
Good. Thanks for inviting me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you because it's thank you for taking the time first, and then just kind of give me the opportunity to get your perspective on this, and give people out there a little bit of a different view of what's going on with you and what's going on with everybody. You know what I mean? So obviously, we're gonna jump right on it, Matt. But we everybody's going through this crisis now, the COVID-19 thing, and it kind of came out of nowhere and came out really fast, right? So I just want to kind of give everyone um, the view of everyone that I'm talking. Obviously, I'm talking about this, and I wanted to see how you see it from your side, from your business, right, and from the broker side, from the investing side, and from the lending side, which you're actually acting on all three. So, but just before we start on that, Matt, why don't you tell everyone, a little bit about you and how you guys started in real estate, and what you've been doing in the last few years.
Yeah, so I first got my start in real estate investing about 7 years ago.
Mhm.
I was working downtown as an accountant, and I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which basically changed my life because it gave me a new kind of outlook and mindset about life. And I was talking all about real estate investing and passive income and whatnot, and kind of controlling your own income and business and whatnot.
Right.
And then after that, I started doing real estate investing, started small with like wholesaling, and then buying some rental properties, and then doing some small flips, and then doing some big flips in Chicago, like big gut rehabs, the second floor additions, when I like the ones that you used to do as well. And then more recently, over the past year, I've done a lot of REO flipping around the country in different states, just buying low and mostly selling as is to other investors, buying at REO auctions. But yeah, I've been full time for the last 5 years. It's going really well. And then about also probably like 18 months ago, almost 2 years now, started a real estate brokerage here in Chicago, Cobblestone Realty. We have
Hmm.
15 brokers, um, and as well as I broker for some hard money loans as well, just because I've been into lending so much and private lenders and doing deals.
Right. Right.
Um,
Oh,
and then
it's a
also
good
the
combination,
podcast.
right? Hmm.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Okay. And would you say in your sorry, I cut you off on the podcast. You said you've been doing the podcast now for how long?
2.5 years around
Okay.
there. Yeah,
Okay.
I think over
You guys like
six.
it?
Yeah, it's good. Well, it's really great to meet great great successful, inspiring people and
Mm-hmm.
hearing their stories. Because everyone sees people and they're just like, okay, that person's this level of success.
Mm-hmm.
There's something different about them. I can't do that. But then you talk to them where they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they were just an everyday person. They're going through like
Absolutely.
you know mighty struggles
Ups
to
and
get through
downs.
that, and you kind of hear
Mm-hmm.
their story of how they got there, and then it seems achievable for anybody. So it's
Right.
a lot of inspiring individuals and stories.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's one of the same things that I'm trying to achieve with these lives. I just thought about one day about my personal experience back in '08, right? When I went through that crisis as well of the real estate market. And but back then we didn't have as many people, I would say, sharing their personal experience online on how they were, going through the crisis and sharing ideas on how keep going and and kind of give a different perspective to people, right? So for me it was that this was kind of something that I really wanted to share and kind of share the like you said, like the same thing that you do on your podcast is to showing how different people act different in different ways and they achieve success in different ways, right? And that's one of them. One of the ways to share that is that's one of the things that I see that now uh, people are more willing. We find a lot of people, successful people, are more willing to share that with everyone. You know what I mean? So, and that's a great thing because obviously there's a lot of people out there that don't know how to act with this situation, right? The younger people, right? Younger than you and younger than me, this is probably their first crisis that they go through, right? The first economic crisis. So obviously, giving them some idea of what you've been through in the last few years, how you started your business, your real estate business, your real estate investing business right after the last crash, right? So in the middle of, the economy wasn't in the best shape when you started, right? So, and that kind of gives people a different perspective of, how they can start a business in the middle of this crisis, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I started in 2012, and it was right after the crash, and I didn't know too much then, but that was like the perfect time to get into it because everyone's
Hmm.
going to crash, and they're like, "Oh, let's run for the hills," and real estate's
Right,
bad.
right,
All that.
right,
It's actually the opposite because once it crashes, it's basically like everything's on sale, right? So if you're at a clothing store and everything is on clearance, that's the best time to buy. So
right,
people like to buy at the top of the market because like, okay, prices are high, but they kind of do the opposite. So this is a great opportunity. I missed the last crash as far as like being in a position and being able to buy a lot of properties at the time because I was just started learning off the bat.
right,
I'm
right,
looking forward to this one if there is one because there's still some speculation whether COVID or not will actually affect the real estate market and
mhm.
housing. Um, but I think it will. Prices will drop at least somewhat, and then by this time next year, prices will be a lot lower, and it'll be a good time to
Well, and in
at
the
least at the very minimum, there'll be a lot less competition because there's a lot less
mhm.
people that can go out and buy and whatnot during this time.
Well, absolutely, and that's the same thing that I was talking about is that back in after the crash of 2008, I think it was in I not remember exactly the date. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was like 2010 or 2011, one of those years. Um, I saw an article saying I believe half of or almost half of the real estate brokers did not renew their license
Oh yeah,
back then. So we were talking about, thousands of people. Okay. So I was in the lending industry back then, right? So, um, and I also had my own real estate brokerage back then as well. So, and I had about at that time before the crisis, probably 25 to 30 brokers working on our company too, and yeah, I mean, it was very difficult because obviously we went from closing deals in within 30 days to 60, 90, and then it turned into a year, right? Because obviously it was very chaotic. The lenders didn't know how to act yet with the short sale side of it, right? They didn't have enough people and stuff. So, short sales in the beginning were taking over a year to close, right? And that was a huge percentage of properties on the market at that time, right? So
Right.
even though there still were, regular properties selling, but most of the properties obviously were losing a lot of value at that time. So it was very difficult for brokers to get a property because it would continue to go down in price every day, right? So the difference back then was that obviously properties didn't crash. The property market didn't crash immediately, right? So the lending industry crashed immediately, but then the real estate kind of trickled down, and we didn't reach the bottom of the real estate of the pricing. I would say until 2011. So, um, like you said, well, I don't think it's going to be the same case. It's not a real estate crisis right now. It's a different type of crisis, right? So, but it affects all the industries. It's amazing the way that this has affected all the businesses, right? So, and this is going to change obviously how we move forward. But at the same time, you and your business, right? You've been changing along the way on all these years, right? Every year it's been
Yeah, so I've continually continue to adjust and pivot as I see fit, as I gain more knowledge, do more deals, and kind of see where the market's going.
right.
So whether or not there was COVID this year or not, there was a lot of talk that this year might be a crash,
Yeah.
especially depending on how the election went.
Hmm.
Just I don't pretend to know all the answers or
No.
just guess what's out there. But I've talked to a lot of other people. And I've actually talked to someone who's been done over like 1,000 wholesale deals over the last 20 years, and
Right.
she's been through 3 crashes already, and this will be her fourth. And she had like kind of the best advice of for me where we used to buy off the MLS and from wholesalers. So think about
Hmm.
that as like
Right.
retail. You're buying at like the top of
Hmm.
the market with everything built in, and then say if you're a wholesaler yourself and you're getting deals and you're sell them, then you're buying wholesale prices.
Hmm.
But so what I've done over the last year is we're buying directly from banks and auction houses. Basically,
Hmm.
like you could think if you're going directly from a manufacturer or a supplier, you're buying at the lowest price. So for that, because especially like now, if prices go down and you're buying at retail, and if your numbers work to begin with, they're gonna change if the ARV goes lower, if you go over rehab budget or construction or labor and material costs go
Right.
higher. You need everything to work out perfectly. So you can either be a really good operator and executor and be on top of all that, or you could, there's that saying, you make money when you buy. So you can
Hmm.
find better inventory sources where you're buying at better prices, and that allows for if the market were to drop or if, numbers change, then you have that cushion to be able to handle that. So like I mean, I have a deal right now where we had it under contract to sell, and then
Hmm.
we just did the buyer just did the septic inspection, no septic tank failed, and it's like a $20,000 cost.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
before I have something similar like in Chicago where you have to replace the entire water line, and then you're like, by the time you get to the end of the project, there's some profit left, or you're close to break even, and
Hmm.
something like that happens, and then it's like oh man, that's a huge issue. But on this one, we had such a big cushion, such a big spread, that extra $20,000 cost, it's just like, okay, well now we're making a normal profit instead of a great profit. So stuff like that, just being able to buy better, kind of go higher on the totem pole as far as like your inventory sources when you're buying where you're
Hmm.
buying from.
Right.
And then especially like even with the lending side, 'cause I know that's what a lot of people are asking right now. So like hard money lenders, like I sent out 65 emails on Friday to like all the lenders because a lot of them are lending. A lot of them came back and said we're not lending at all anymore
Right.
now. And then like a lot of them, they were lending like 75% LTV. A lot of them
Hmm.
dropped that to 65% now. And then a lot of them are requiring 6 to 12 months of interest reserve, monthly interest payments paid at
Yes.
closing. So that's more
Yes.
money you got to come to the table with. And
Hmm.
then before you can get up to maybe like 90% of the purchase price that they would fund. And now they've dropped that to like 80% or even 70%.
Right.
So the lending landscape has changed dramatically just within the last, 30 to 60 days. Um, and so that's something you got to be like mindful of. So the biggest thing is like in this time when that happens, because with the last crash that happened, there was a lot of investors that kind of just were caught with their pants down. Like even on the retail side, where you have properties under contract where buyers are looking to buy them and their financing is all set up, and then their loans get pulled, and then you can't sell your properties. So you always kind of want to have backup plans.
Hmm.
So kind of right now, what I have is you get a property, it has enough spread where you could sell it as is and make a decent profit, or you put a little bit of rehab into it and sell it retail,
Right.
and then it also works if both of those don't work out. We could just rent it out and refinance and hold it long term.
Hmm.
So now, before we're just like going into a property with one exit strategy and hoping that works, and then if it things don't go well, you're just stuck with that exit strategy, and then
Hmm.
you don't make profit. Now we every deal I do, I have three different exit strategies, and each one of them will work depending on how the deal goes. So now it's good to
Right.
have options. And then the other side of it, people that are only working with hard money or their own cash, it's great to have like private lenders that you can go to. It's people, individuals who have cash that they can lend to you to do deals, because banks have regulations and whatnot because they resell a lot of their loans. So when that happens, they can pull it overnight. Whereas a private lender is very flexible, and they have cash sitting on the sidelines and they want to get into the market. Especially after a crash happens, they have a lot
Right.
of great deals and whatnot. And then especially like when they usually have their money in the stock market and there's a crash that it's really volatile, especially like right now it's already happening where a lot of people
Right.
are pulling their money out of the stock market or don't want to invest in it. So actually, since COVID, my business has gotten even better, where there's less competition, so there's more available deals, and then investors and lenders have actually been coming to me to invest in my deals. So things on that side of it, it's just knowing, kind of being in the industry long enough, knowing what's out there, knowing when to use what, and having backup options.
Well,
Um,
definitely we met Matt at a education place, right? So where we were kind of educating ourselves after the last crash to kind of do these things the way that you're doing it now, right? So now you're being able to take advantage of all that stuff now, right? Plus all the experience that you're being able to accumulate throughout the last few years, right? And yeah, I mean, is we're going back to square one, the same thing that we were going through after the last crash, right? When I started more or less in about 2010, right? And we were putting, first there was not as many hard money lenders that like there is now, right? So we had to look for the money in many different ways. Second, the two or three hard money lenders that were at that time available, they were actually, when we started using them, I didn't use them actually up until my sixth or eighth deal, actually, right? And but when we started using them, um, we were putting 40% down. Okay, so it was 20% down for the purchase, and they were only financing 80% of the rehab. So we needed to put about 40% of skin in the game to be able to do it with them, right? And that continued for many, many years. Obviously, it changed over the years, and that's one of the things that we learn right through education, which is when you see the market going up and price rise. So we were at the top last year and the year before. So that we were adapting already at that time, because we were, the flipping side of it, of properties, wasn't as profitable per se, last year and the year before, right? Because we were reaching the tops of the pricing, right? In many different areas, at least in our market, right? The market that we are, Chicago. So it was a little bit more difficult, but I think that there's a lot of other markets now. There's still a lot of profit to make, right? There's still a lot of profit to make here in some of the deals here, but at the same time, obviously it changed the demographic, and the situation now changed, like on the lending industry, like you said, mostly for the new guys, right? That they were used to doing 90%, right? But they were used to putting only 10% down, or 20 at the most. Now, like you said, everything is changing, going back to the same thing as putting more down payment, having more reserves, and not being a lot of deals out there to play with, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So
And it's good to have something like that to reference. Like I even had like a hard money client yesterday reach out to me. She wanted to buy like a 58 unit property
right,
for $1 million, and she wanted 100% financing. And I'm
right,
like,
absolutely,
that wasn't even possible before,
right.
and definitely not now. And I'm just, yeah.
Well, there's still some options, and I'm gonna talk about that later. There's still some options that, when we started doing it back in 2010, we had to be super creative. First, because um, honestly, me coming from the lending industry before, the only way that I knew how to buy a property before was, if you qualify for a mortgage, a regular mortgage, I'm talking about, right, a conventional mortgage, then you can buy a property. Otherwise, I didn't know any other ways.
Yeah.
Okay, before 2008, and but obviously after that it was almost impossible. The guidelines, were tightened and all that. So the same thing that's happening now, right? They ask you for a higher scores and blah blah blah. So the thing is that, so we needed to get creative on how to raise funds and how to get funding for the deals. And one of the things that helped us kind of get started was unsecured funding, right? So,
Mhm.
about that funding too, and that is something that we'll talk about it at the end, because it's something that it can still be utilized today. Still, those lenders are still lending, and it's something that you can use in combination with hard money too. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
So
definitely.
it's something that, because it's unsecure, you can combine the two of them and kind of, fill the gap a little bit, right? So even you're not going to be able to do 100%, like you said, right? But at the same time, it's still going to help you kind of get through with the deals, right? So and at the same time, because of what the how the market was changing in the last 2 years, Matt, I mean, I've seen also, the change that everything was going more virtual, right? And the opportunity now of jumping into other states, right? So are you I know that you're doing some of that stuff too, right?
Hmm. Yeah, doing a lot of virtual. So in the last year, I've closed over 50 deals in 19 states, all virtually. We're basically everyone thinks it's really hard and it sounds kind of impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So you start doing I started doing it with a partner who'd already started doing it somewhat. And basically, if you first of all you find a property, you gotta know how to analyze the property and look up comps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people only do that in MLS, but essentially you use Redfin or Zillow or
Yeah.
Realtor.com or any of those. It's really easy to look up comps like in any area nowadays with the internet, so you can get a pretty good
Idea.
idea of what something would resell for. But yeah, if you have, so then you got to contact someone in that market that's on the ground, like a, when I first started, it was like contact someone on Craigslist and hope they go there and do a good job and whatnot. But it makes a lot more sense. You just hire someone like a realtor that's nearby that has a current listing or who
Right.
sold maybe one of the comps because they know what they're doing, and you could have them
Mm-hmm.
go check out the house for you. So you want boots on the ground to at least get eyes on it. And now everyone is super familiar now with the last couple months, doing Zoom and COVID and all that. So we just have them do a video walkthrough with us. We can look at the house in person, send us pictures,
Right.
videos. You can always get doing so many flips I've done now, I got, a pretty good idea of what a rehab budget would consist of. And so yeah, most of those, the price that you can buy. And then you also get, because I've been pretty spot on with my ARVs, but then you get
Mm-hmm.
second opinion
Right.
from a local realtor there. And then,
Right.
either reconfirms what my opinion of value, or changes it. And then if it does, it's, why is it different? Um, but yeah, so you have an as is price you can buy for, and then the ARV you can sell for. So if the rehab works and is in the middle of that, if it's 65% or less, another investor will buy it because that's the formula we're all trained on. Um, but then I've also started another smaller model where if the property is pretty close to retail, like if it's not like a gut, because in
Hmm.
Chicago, it's doing all gut rehabs. If you have something that's kind of close to retail, like $20,000 or less of like rehab, where maybe it just needs like paint or maybe a new kitchen countertop or just like update some stuff in the bathroom,
Right.
stuff like that. What's worked pretty well for me is partnering with a local realtor there because they're going to get the listing anyways. If it's a retail listing, you can't sell it off market for the most part. You need to put on MLS to get a
Right.
retail buyer. Then you also have the realtor use a contractor relationship that they have in the area and have them manage the project and pay them a small project management fee. And then they're incentivized because they're getting extra money, and then they want it done quickly because they want to list it so they can get paid again.
Right.
So we've done that on a few of our properties, and that's worked really well.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, everything's done everything virtually.
And you say how long have you been doing that now?
Just under a year.
Under a year. And how much you seen change? Obviously, you were on the roll, right, in the beginning of the year with that. And how much did it change in the last 2 months per se when this
Um,
whole thing started?
you know what? It hasn't changed so much as far as finding deals or the numbers being great because I mean we had two that were on the market and one went under contract the day that we listed it, and the other
Mm-hmm.
went under contract in 10 days. But what's kind of happening now is like logistic wise, because we're getting a lot of our REOs and stuff from asset managers and buying them at auction, and then
Mm-hmm.
now with they've been slower logistically about it. And then also, now nobody can evict anyone or foreclose on anyone. So like the banks, a lot of times, even when they foreclose, the former owners stay living in it, and they got to get them out. But now you can't evict anybody, and now if you're not going to be able to foreclose for who knows 3, 4,
Right.
5 months, that
Right.
might dry up for now. But then there's going to be a big, nothing ever happens overnight. So, but there,
Mm-hmm.
probably starting next year, there's going to be a big influx of like foreclosures and REOs.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, so that's kind of what I'm seeing right now in the market.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, some of like you said, obviously that change, the deals, some of the deals are going to take longer. If we go into more of a short sale market per se, like we did back in after '08. I don't know. I don't think we're gonna go in as high as big as it was last time, but we don't know yet, right? Because the unemployment was, jump up really high, really, really fast. But the thing is that, uh, a lot of, like you said, a lot of people are, they just got out of the business completely, right? So they're not willing to wait, right? And I don't know if you knew that guy. I think he's from Texas or Arizona, the guy Vargas.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
wholesaler. He got out completely. He went into e-com business,
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
and
he's in Florida. Yeah,
yeah, and a lot of people were kind of, I saw, I found out because there was another wholesaler that was kind of bashing and talking shit about him and all that stuff online, and I mean, you don't know yet whether his move right now was a smart move or it was a dumb move. I don't know. Either way, the guy jumped into a different thing right away early in the game, and he might, of course he's going to do well, but at the same time, a lot of people were kind of taking shots at him because
well,
he got.
I know he was doing wholesaling for a while, but I
Mhm.
know, yeah, the Amazon e-commerce business, he had already been doing that simultaneously, probably from at least a couple years ago.
Right, right.
And then he was even moving into multifamily and self storage and whatnot. So, but I mean, that's another example of like, as an entrepreneur, you got to,
You
recognize
get
where
adapt.
it's going and be able to adjust and pivot. So, I
Yeah.
mean, Amazon, a lot of people have been doing that. It's been blowing up. And then, even like because of the last 60 days, it's blown up even more because everyone's at home
Right.
ordering everything in. So I think that an article just came out last week about, Jeff Bezos stock or whatever went up, 20 billion or whatever it was. And then they said he might even be the first billionaire. So, I
Right.
mean, being able to recognize opportunity is like a skill set that like you have to develop as an entrepreneur. So whether he's like, oh, I'll quit this and do this, or I'll just put more of
Right.
my time into this. I mean, that's kind of like the play right now too, of jumping on whatever bandwagon is working at that time to,
Right.
to be able to use it.
Being able to see the trends and being able to, I mean, obviously he made a great deal of money wholesaling, so obviously he has the luxury to jump into another trend with some investment. And like you said, I mean, he's been doing some of that for a few years. It's not a business that you start overnight. Okay, so obviously, you got to take that. It takes some time to kind of get on the road too. And yeah, it's definitely that's the one of the things that I wanted to point out is that you don't have to be short-sighted on that side. And if there is some other opportunities out there that you can take advantage, definitely take them, right? Because I mean, even more so
Yeah,
if you have
definitely.
some liquidity now to do it, right? So, and how about your business? Where were you right before this? I mean, were you only doing just wholesaling right before COVID started, or or had you had some of the fix and flips also in the middle of that at that time?
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm doing now is I buy everything bank owned because that's where you get the
Okay,
lowest pricing, and banks aren't the best at evaluating value, anyways. Um, but yeah, so I close on about 70 to 80% of the deals. Um, it's about 20% are wholesales, then maybe double close another 20 to 30%, and then half of them we actually close on it cash and then either resell it as is or do some rehab and then relist it and sell it. But I mean,
right.
90% of the deals are I'm in and out in 90 days, and then I think the longest one has gone maybe just hit like 6 months. But they're
Okay,
all, especially in a market like this, you don't want to be holding on to like a big deal that you're going to be in for, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, or, higher, because the whole market could change by the time you get to the end of a deal. Um, and yeah, I mean, usually markets don't change overnight, but yeah, obviously with something like COVID, it does. But being in something that quick that you can be in and out of, prices can't change as much. Or if they do, you can start noticing trends and then adjust your numbers. Because before, like when I would look at a deal, you want to at least think that there'd be at least a 20,000 like gross profit, so that there, if things do happen, there's profit there that could sustain um, other things that came up.
mm-hmm.
But now we've kind of increased that to like 30,000 gross, so that so that it's not as close. And then the other thing was, um, like as a general rule of thumb, I never want to pay more than 40% of purchase price to ARV as a
Right,
ratio. And we've dropped that number to 30% now. So you can spot trends and make adjustments accordingly when they come up. So I mean, the two biggest mistakes of like any business is not even knowing trends exist, like not keeping your eye on the market, and then um, even if you do know, it happens with not making adjustments as the time goes on. So if you're just like, oh, I'm doing something, like the biggest thing, like blockbuster around a business, right? So if you focus on something like, oh, this has been working forever, so I'm gonna keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like if you get complacent, you go out of business. You got to continually adjust and pivot as things go on, as trends change, and as markets change,
right.
to be able to stay afloat, survive, and thrive.
Right.
And,
Well, plus, I mean, real estate investing has so many different ways that you can work, right? So it's not only about fix and flipping or wholesaling, but there's so many other strategies that you can utilize, right? To kind of be able to manage different type of deals and be able to make money in many different ways, right? Are you doing some rentals too, and anything on that area?
yeah, I started doing some rentals on the side, and I'm looking to build more of that as a portfolio. And definitely, like once prices go down, and because the biggest thing, once the crash happens, whether or not it's a big or small crash, prices are going to go down some point in the next, either later this year or next year, or 1 or 2 years. And that's where you kind of want to buy everything up, and then over time, even like the last crash, it took like 8 years for the prices to max out. Um, so the biggest thing is buying low, collecting the rents in the meantime, and then getting that appreciation over time. And then either at the height of the market, either sell off your portfolio or refinance.
Right.
Um, and, the biggest thing is you want to make sure that it cash flows, because in the last crash, the biggest thing was everyone was investing for appreciation, which is like the worst thing you can do, because you can never control the price of the asset afterwards. But if you
Hmm.
get cash flow in the meantime and it cash flows positively every month, um, like depreciation is just a bonus, and it's not as relevant if
Right. No,
everything.
and plus, I mean, this is going to bring a lot of new opportunities, right? The prices are going to adjust again. I mean, I took some good properties back in 2012 that we bought that by 2017, 2016, 2017, some of the rental properties that we had went up about I don't know, 150%,
Yeah.
in value. So it was, what I mean. So
Yeah.
obviously, we when we bought them, where they were, we needed to fix them and everything. But we, I have one example that was one building that we bought back then at 42 grand, and then we were able to sell it for 420. You know what I mean? So, and that's only because of the appreciation of the market. Of course, yeah, we fix the property and we make it nice and we rent it out, but we were able to cash flow with that for many years. And then when came to the point that we saw that it was a price to sell, there was a time to sell. We were able to sell and did great on those two. So, and that's going to happen again, absolutely. So, but at the same time, there is many different ways within the rental market to act, right? So there's, as long, like you said, on the commercial side of it, as long as the property cash flow, you can keep them without touching much of it for some years, and still will get back on some appreciation on that as well. And obviously, it's going to get back to the point that like the same thing that we experienced the last 10 years, right? That the rents went up and up and up and up, right? And then obviously your price is going to improve, your cash flow is going to improve, but as you said, you have to make sure that you buy right from the beginning, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So you guys, you and your partner now have a real estate brokerage now, right? Coverstone
Mhm.
Real Estate, and you're working with a lot of brokers. Well, how has been that experience? I mean, I went through that before the 2008 thing, and how's your experience working with new realtors and training them, and providing some opportunities for them too?
Yeah, so I do that business with Ricardo, and we're
Hmm.
still the managing broker. Ricardo handles most of the day to day, and I handle a lot of the recruitment and business
Hmm.
development. But yeah, we have pretty good. Our team at Cobblestone was just named a top producing team at the Car Awards. So we have, like, probably like any brokerage, where maybe the top 20, 30, 40% are doing a lot of the volume. And then you
Right,
have a lot of brokers who are, putting their license there just to have their license. And we're also like an investor first brokerage.
right,
A lot of brokerages don't have a lot of investment experience. They have a lot of agents. But we've, since me and Ricardo have come from, um, investing background, we always have that as kind of the forefront. So a lot of
right,
what we offer is that if an agent wants to get in investing, and then they come to the brokerage, we can teach them and train them, and show them that, and we have that ability, and different things like that.
right.
We have a lot of, half of our brokerage is probably investment brokers. So then when they do their own
Okay.
deals, they can list their own deals. Or, if they go in and they're talking to homeowners and they want to buy their house, they can
Right.
come in and say, oh, I'm licensed. So then, they come across more credible. And then, especially in Illinois, where wholesaling just became like, what they say illegal, which is basically like, if
Mm-hmm.
you do more than one deal in a 12-month period, then you have to have
Right.
your license. Otherwise, the second deal, it's like, violating, the new law. So we've had a lot of brokers start coming over and kind of get started, working on their licenses now to come over
Joining.
to join as, because if you're gonna, a lot of brokerages right now, actually, if you even mention wholesaling, or you're like, oh, I want to join, can I do wholesale deals under it? Like, they'll completely, a lot of brokerages don't understand what that is.
One.
They
Yeah,
just
they're not
get
gonna.
mad.
They
They're
don't
like,
want
well,
to do.
there you go, and they don't even want you to sign up there. So, we're 100% open for, wholesalers. Like, we understand the process, we know how it works. We've done, I don't even know how many wholesale deals I've done now,
Right.
um, over 50, something like
But
that. So
but
we can,
a lot of the guidelines haven't hasn't been like super clear yet, right? On that, in
right.
regards of like marketing and how you kind of manage yourself with the seller and all that stuff, right? I mean, it's not completely. I mean, they passed the law, but it's not 100% clear on what is okay for you to do and what is not okay, because obviously, as you know, a lot of the things with wholesaling didn't match up with the realtor's code of conduct, right?
Mhm.
And that they have to be under, right, that they're when you're licensed, right? So What is your take on that? I mean, on those things.
Yeah, so I've talked to Gary Davidson. He even did like a training at our office.
Mm-hmm.
Who's like, he's the attorney that does the most wholesale deals in the
Yeah.
state.
Right.
Um, and even he wasn't very clear on it, because what it is a new law that's been put in place. It hasn't really been enforced yet. We won't really know how, say, the government actually does anything until there's actually some case studies to go off of. But like the main thing is, yeah, right now you could probably do deals and get away with it for a time being, but at some point they're going to start enforcing it, and it's going to be more of like, I don't want to say like whistleblower, but like someone does a deal, it doesn't go right,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
someone says, okay, this guy trying to do this deal without a license. So I mean, the best piece of advice I can give you is, if you're a wholesaler or looking to wholesale, just go ahead and get your license. And because it's better to be safe than sorry, and then you have it, so to not have it. Another thing you can do is, if you're starting out, if you don't know, because even when I did it, it took me and Ricardo like 6 months to even do our first wholesale deal.
Right.
If you don't want to, because getting a license is expensive, right? I think all in, after you get it and pay your annual fees and everything, you're almost close to like 2 grand. What I would say is maybe go and do wholesaling, and then once you complete your very first wholesale deal, then use that money and get your license, because you're not going to really need your license till you do
And
your second
the
deal.
second one. Right.
That's a way to do it. If you're kind of on the fence about doing wholesaling, you don't know if you want to do it yet. Try it first, and then as soon as you do that, just go and get your license.
But at the same time, on that aspect, I mean, the thing is that the law also talks about the marketing side of it. So that they don't allow you. Obviously, they allow you to do one deal. So I guess you're allowed to do marketing for one deal. I guess, right?
Yeah, so the law, basically what it says is, if you are doing a wholesaling business, so it's not that you can't wholesale, it's if you're found to be like, oh, I'm doing this as a business,
Every month,
you're going to
right?
do more of that. So you can market for the time being until you did your first deal. And what
Right.
that biggest thing is, so I mean, for those of you who don't know the difference between assignments and double closings, assignments is just when you get a property under contract and just assign that to an investor, and they go and they close on the deal. A double closing is when you get under contract and then um, you do back-to-back closings to the investor. So from what I've heard, double closings aren't illegal, but the assignments are. Um, but the biggest thing is, the reason they put it in is, a lot of wholesalers, having no knowledge, or don't know how wholesaling works. They get a property under contract, the numbers are way too high. No one's ever going to buy it because the numbers don't work. But they're
Right.
just want to get a contract, and then they go to sign it or sell it, and nobody wants it whatsoever. And they, it gets passed around all over Chicago, over all the email
Right.
lists, all the Facebook groups and everything. Everyone
Right.
passed, and then basically they just go back to the seller, and they say, "Oh, I can't close this," or I just drop out, or they just stop responding to them. So the biggest thing is, you have all these sellers who are normal, real people, and either those wholesalers aren't upfront about what they're actually doing, and they're pretending like they're buying it, and then in the background they're trying to do all this. And when they come, these real people, these sellers are out there making plans, making moving plans, like saying, "Oh, what can I use this money for?" And they're expecting like a
Right.
payday, and and when this falls through, then it messes up all their plans, and it takes a toll, and it really affects them. So the
Right.
biggest thing is why they put this in place was to prevent you know those wholesalers on the fringe that don't really know how
Right.
wholesaling works, don't know how to analyze an ARV of a property, don't know how to do a rehab budget, and are basically leaving all these these motivated these sellers in the dust without their deal being
Right.
closed.
Oh, I
Uh, so
think that. Look, I think that.
and weed them out.
Right.
Um, so the ones that actually stay, that do it right, that know how to do the numbers, and are getting a license is a big thing, and
Right.
the test isn't so easy anymore. So to basically do that, what they're saying, it's like, okay, you're serious enough about this business that you got your license, and then you at least know the laws that are intact. And what they're really trying to do is protect the homeowners and the sellers from getting screwed over.
Right. Yeah. The thing is that, my take on that is that, yeah, they put it in place saying that they're to protect the consumer, right? But the realtors that are taking the exam, they know nothing about wholesaling when they take their license. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like they give you a license to carry, right? And but you don't know how to shoot,
Yeah,
right? It's kind of
right.
the same thing. So I think that a lot of those agents are going to shoot themselves on the foot because they're going to still make mistakes. They're still going to get in trouble because they don't know how to act properly with the seller. So, and that is something, that's why I was asking you, because I see that obviously I think that is great. I mean, you guys, the the way that you approach your real estate company from the investor side, I think is great, because there's a lot of companies out there, like you said, that they dedicate themselves only on the retail side, and they do not touch the investors, and they're losing big on that because there's a huge market now for that. So, but at the same time, obviously, there is a little bit of a liability there for some of the agents that don't know how to manage themselves or don't know how to wholesale. So obviously, they still need training. They still need to learn about that stuff, and obviously, I'm sure you guys can help with that too, right?
Well, yeah. So here's a big thing too. Well, first of all, like a normal real estate agent or someone who wants to get their license to do retail houses and whatnot, they're not getting that to learn how to wholesale or wholesale. Like it's almost
Right.
two completely separate segments of the market. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have a lot of wholesalers now that are going to need to get their license, and they're just getting it maybe not with any intention of being an agent or acting as an agent, but just to be able to do their wholesale deals legally. But here's
Right.
another huge thing that if a lot of wholesalers are like, oh, I'm not going to do that or waste the time or the money to do that. I think one thing that they're not realizing is that actually opens them up to a lot more ability to
Opportunity.
make profit on the deals or make money. Because what happens is if you go into a deal and you get it, the price. If you know how to do pricing, you're like, oh, I could buy your house for 30,000, and that's the max I can offer you for my numbers of work, so I can wholesale it or whatnot. And if they're like, well, the least I'll take for it is like 50,000, right? Instead of there being no deal, or instead of that wholesaler being like, okay, whatever, I'll get under contract at 50, and then know that I can never sell it and then just drop out later. What they can do if they have their license, they have two options to present now. They're like, okay, well, that's more than I could buy as an investor or wholesaler. What I can do, if you want 50,000, I could just list it on the market using my realtor license, and then they could gain a commission from that.
Right.
And that
Right.
opens up a lot more. Or even if you bring that up, you're like, oh, I can do two things. I can, because if the prices are the same, you could say I can get this under contract and sell it to my investor network, or I can just list it on the MLS to everybody. So I mean,
Right.
they're instead of saying okay, having a license is like a bad thing and having that mindset, they can
Oh
look at it
no.
as an opportunity to generate additional income. And I
Oh,
think that's a big
absolutely.
thing to miss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so yeah, absolutely. I seen that, one of the good things about that too is the point that you just made, which is, when you're not able to sell it in your private network of investors, you can go ahead and put it on the MLS and sell it on the open market. And now for a lot of new agents and new brokers, right? That just starting to wholesale deals. It's actually it might be easier because they don't even have to go and build their buyers list. I mean, now you can possibly put it on the MLS, and that thing is gonna reach out everyone. You know what I mean? So as long as you price it correctly, and you put it for the price for an investor to be able to pick that up, it will still it will be actually a lot easier to sell, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And then
So
to answer your question before at Cobblestone, for any wholesaler that comes and joins us, they can. It's not like they're out there on their own like they would normally be trying to get a deal and be like, oh, I
right,
want these numbers work. They can present it to us. I can vet the deal for them. Say, hey, this rehab number is way off, or you have this ARV that's way off. So I even had someone recently come and do that, and their numbers didn't make any sense. Like I think it was something like the purchase. Um, Man, what was that thing? It was really weird. Where like the purchase price and the ARV were really close to each other. I go,
right,
nobody would. I think it was like, oh, you
right,
could buy this for 15,000, and the ARV is like, 40, but then it needs all this rehab. And I go, actually, you messed up this deal. Like, so first of all, it doesn't make any sense. But it's a two unit,
right,
not a single family, and it's in this neighborhood and not that one. The ARV is actually like 120, and
right,
here's the rehab. So you mess up your deal on multiple numbers on your deal, but then one's in your favor to actually still make it a deal. And then the second part of that, we have a list of like 5 or 6 thousand people, cash buyers in Chicago from just that we've accumulated and compiled from all the networking that we've done and
absolutely,
whatnot. So if someone comes to us and they first of all, like, we can vet their deal and say, hey, that these numbers make sense or these don't, and then we could show them how to present it and on a a good way, like the flyer with all the numbers to make somebody want to buy it and have the right comps on it, and then we could shop it to our cash buyers list, where essentially they don't have to go out and try to find a buyer. And then because the biggest thing too, even if your numbers are right, it also has to kind of do about your credibility. If you're somebody
Hmm.
that nobody knows, and they don't know if you know what like a lot of times they ignore your deals because they either don't know you or they don't they assume your numbers are wrong, or they don't know if you're going to actually close or if you actually have the contract. So being in the for me being in the real Chicago real estate market for the last 7 years, if I send something out, there's more credibility surrounding it. Someone can call me directly and
Right.
ask about the numbers. I can give it to them straight. So it's a lot easier to have someone that's bigger, that has a lot more experience, be able to shop and sell your deals than you do yourself as a new wholesaler that nobody knows yet and you haven't made an impact in the marketplace.
Absolutely. I mean, the conversation is different. I think the concept is great because you guys can help them right from the beginning. And like you said, you have all the resources that you've been able to build throughout the last 7 years with your buyers list, your sellers list, and anybody that is looking for different deals, and the ability to be able to analyze and to teach them how to analyze the deals, which is something that you don't see on a regular brokerage out there. So I mean, it's usually that is okay, you got your license, you're good to go. Go get some marketing lessons and go, right?
Yeah, no,
So
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and that's the other thing that I know that you and Ricardo has a great thing, a great background also in the marketing side, because you guys were doing a lot of marketing for your deals when you were looking for sellers and stuff like that. So obviously, I know that you guys practice that a lot. So I'm sure you can pass that along to your brokers, and that is huge because I mean, me personally, when I was buying deals, I wasn't doing much of a marketing because there was an abundance of deals, as you know, back
Yeah,
then, right? So there was an abundance of deals, so I didn't really need to market to sellers. Really, there were a lot of wholesalers out there doing it, and I was buying directly from wholesalers, some short sales, some auctions, some from many different directions. But now at this time is when actually the people that knows a little bit more about marketing and how to market themselves and how to market to sellers are actually the ones that have the advantage, right? The ones that have the advantage of getting to them quicker, right?
yeah, no, definitely 100%.
So so Matt, so last question, where do you see going now? Where do you see your brokerage going? Where do you see your business going? What are your plans for the next, I would say, a few years? Whether this COVID goes where it goes, but I mean, other than that, what are some of your big ideas that you have for your business, or things that you want to accomplish either in your brokerage or personally per se, things that you want to do in the next few years.
Yeah, so for our brokerage, we just want to continue to scale, get more agents, do more deals. We just changed managing brokers. So Mauricio Lopez is our new managing broker as of a
Mhm.
month or two ago. And he was actually our top producer at Cobblestone last year and just got, the car award for top producing team. And he,
Okay.
by trade, he's like a digital marketer, the degree at DePaul. And he's done a lot of that. And his whole thing is like Facebook ads.
Okay.
Um, so what we're doing now is like, he brings a lot of good marketing ideas into the company. And then now we're doing like in-house ads that we get leads and then we share them with our agents.
Hmm.
Uh, so now, now we get leads coming in where a new agent doesn't have to start off from the retail side. A new agent doesn't have to start off, from scratch with no leads,
Right.
to get
Right.
their own leads. We have, in-house leads that we can share with everybody that, we're getting a lot of. And then on the investment side, yeah, we can continue and grow that. There's gonna be a lot more people that want to get in the business with if the market the prices go down or the market crash. So we just have that, but we're going to scale that. On the investment side, kind of what I'm doing right now is really setting me up and preparing for the future. So like that person I said that I talked to that has gone through 3 market crashes already, has done over like 1,000 wholesale deals over the last 20 years. I went to her conference a few months ago, and what she had said was, going into a market crash and then afterward, or where you specifically want to prepare yourself, is to do this type of niche in the industry, in the business. And what she had said is exactly what I'm doing right now, is buying directly from banks and REOs, because you get that at the lowest prices. And then what's happening now with everything, to me, what I honestly think will happen is, we put everything on hold in businesses and unemployment and everything for a few months. But like if things were to get back to normal, or once everything gets lifted, if they do, not everything's going to come back 100%. Like it
Right.
might come back 60, 70%. A lot of businesses are going out of business and just, oh, I don't want to come back. A lot of the jobs probably realize that they could hire people virtually and they don't need as much staff as when they come back on board.
Hmm.
Everything's going to come back on slowly anyways. So there's probably going to be a lot of people out of business, out of jobs. And then there's going to be like a flood of foreclosures and REOs, over the next year, 1 to 2 years. And then, so right now we've already set up a lot of relationships with asset managers and the auction houses, and done quite a few deals with them. So then when they get more, we're already one of the biggest buyers,
Right.
that we'll be able to buy a lot more. So what I'd like to do is buy bulk REO deals, 10, 20, 50 houses at once. We can take a lot of
It's
assets off their books, and then you know depending on the market, wholesale them, flip them, hold them as rentals. So that's really what I'm preparing now, is to dive more into that business
okay.
and create more relationships and be more set up, so that when prices get even better and there's less competition, there's more inventory in the market, then I'm ready to take advantage of that. Say over the next 3 to 5 years, basically being prepared in the situation I am now, where I wasn't when I first started, right after the crash, because I wasn't so new, I didn't know anything yet.
No, and then again, it's the experience that you've been gaining throughout the last 7 years, and obviously applying it right away, as on the as long as you were learning and applying right away, and obviously that's what is taking you to the place where you are right now. And again, that kind of gives people a different perspective. Other investors out there that they're kind of scared on what's going on, what's going to happen in the next few months or anything like that. It's just to continue to build. And actually, when the things are slow, it's actually the best time to kind of learn more, reanalyze, check other investors, what they're doing, how are they adapting to these things, and how they're changing their business. So that way you can kind of inside that communication, probably you're going to catch a trend, right? Which is, okay, what is everybody doing, where is everybody going, what are they trying to do, where, right? And one of the things now, I think one of the biggest trends now, I think, is the virtual stuff, right? So I've been exploring that since last year too, and been also in Florida, Texas, and Georgia. I've been the main three places where we've been working on.
Yeah,
And of course, I think it's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to bring more opportunities to new people too, right?
100% agree.
All right, Matt, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. You man, you have a wealth of knowledge now with all these deals that you've been able to do. I
It's 12
definitely
o'clock.
so you gotta cut off alarm right there. So the idea is, like I said before, to give people a different perspective. And I think we give that to them today from your side of it, from your view, the ways that you see things. And definitely, I'm going to put now your information out there so you can tell people how to get in touch with you. But let's hear from you. What's the best way to get in touch with you? And, in case if you want to either get be part of your brokerage, or maybe get some mentoring on real estate investing. Are you doing any of that? Doing some mentoring too, and investing?
Yeah, here and
Yeah.
there. We did
Okay.
one class where we basically graduated like 12 students. We haven't
Okay.
had another one in time being, but we're
Okay.
doing some individual one-on-one mentoring. But yeah, more mentoring for
Well, you got
our.
to do some more of that now, man. You got to do some more
Yeah.
of that too. So okay, but yeah, but so tell us, what's the easiest way to get in touch with you?
Easiest way, if you're on Facebook, find me on Facebook. Instant Messenger. You can also email me. My email is Matt, Matt, at matthewmessick.com. And then also, I'm not really good with phone calls. If you call me,
Okay.
voicemail probably gonna be sitting for a while.
Message.
But I'm really good
Right.
with texting, so I'll go ahead and give
Right.
out my number. You can text me at 312-871-9363.
All right, awesome. All right, awesome. Thank you, Matt. I'm gonna put your slide right now, and I'm just gonna tell people how to get in touch with you. Okay. Thank you
Okay,
very much, bro.
great. Thanks, Christian. I
All right.
super appreciate it.
All
Good
right. Thank
catching
you.
up.
All right. Here's how you can get in touch with Matt. If we wanna reach him, definitely Facebook, like you said, is the best way to get in touch with him. Here's his LinkedIn, his Instagram, and his Profit Over Wages podcast. Definitely give it a try. He's they have some great stuff in there as well. So, and now I'm just gonna give you a word from our sponsors as well. So our sponsors for today was National Corporate Credit. National Corporate Credit is actually helping a lot of the real estate investors out there to get some more, raise some more cash for for the investors out there. Like Matt said today, obviously. The lenders out there, they're still now asking for more skin in the game. They're asking you for 20% down. They're not longer financing 100% of your construction. So you're going to need more money. So you're going to need to be more creative on your financing when you're financing your deals. And one of the things that helped us a lot after the last real estate crash was that we needed to get some unsecured funding, business lines of credit. Those kind of help us actually get a lot of the deals going and a lot of the situation going because the lending industry tighten up, right? So now you're going to need some extra money to get the deals done. The same, just to give you an example, if you have a property that you're buying for $50,000 and you need another $50,000 in rehab money. Just a few months ago, you were able to do that just with 10 grand, 15 grand. You were able to buy that property and finance the rest. Now, for that same deal, you're probably going to need anywhere from 30 to 40 grand, maybe. Okay. Because you're going to need 20% down on the purchase and then an extra 10, 15, or 20% for the construction on top of the money that they provide. So go to getunsecuredcredit.com, and that's going to be one of the websites where you can set up an appointment to find out more about that and see how you can fill that gap that some of those lenders are putting out there. You can get financing, unsecured financing, from between 7 to 14 days is quick answer. Or just give him a call to 847-220-7247, and definitely try it out and see if you can apply for that to get your deals done. All right. So, and now finally, if you want to get in touch with me, here's my information. You can reach me way better through Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm most active on those two. I'm in Instagram too and Twitter. But definitely get in touch with me through Facebook or LinkedIn. Again, my or by phone. I mean, definitely, my you're gonna find all my information in there. I really appreciate everyone watching today. If you're watching the replay, also thank you very much. And again, if you want to ask us more questions on about your business and how you can change some of the things in your business and what is coming up, or if you have suggestions that you want us to change, any ideas, comment on the things that you want us to talk about on the real estate talk with these professionals, let me know. Send me a message, comment, like, share again, and then I will definitely appreciate that, and we'll definitely look into that and implement some of your ideas too. All right. Again, thank you very much, and I'll see you again on Wednesday. Thank you, guys.